Hello humans and welcome to The Void. My name is Slady and this channel is an amalgamation of everything inside my head. Today's video is a review for the second season of One Punch Man. As I expand this channel, I want to incorporate all my interests. There will be more seemingly random reviews of manga and anime as I consume them at a slower pace than other genres. That's mostly because me and my boyfriend have to watch all of them together because I'm a weeb and I just want to spoil and talk about everything as soon as I've watched it. So that doesn't do him any favors. If you're asking yourself where I stand on One Punch Man Season 1, you shouldn't be, because it is objectively amazing and it gets an A+. The characters introduced are heartfelt and interesting. Genos is absolute beifu, and although we get a protagonist who can beat any enemy he encounters, it's not as, shall I say, boring as other animes. I'm talking about Dragon Ball Z and Bleach, where they basically just scream louder than before to level up and take on each new supervillain. One Punch Man cuts out the ascension process of the hero for Saitama and leaves it in for lesser characters around him. It gives us the emotional satisfaction and investment other animes lack, because One Punch Man's side characters are actually at risk and will lose everything and even die. And in the absence of an apex protagonist that is portrayed as constantly struggling when we know he's gonna win and we don't believe it for a second, we get a hero already past the mentality of knowing he'll win. Saitama opens an amazing drawer of existential questions from a man who can do it all, so now he's just kind of bored. If you haven't seen One Punch Man, go fucking watch it. Do it right now. If you want to just watch the first season and not the second, I think that's a viable option. It closes itself out well, and until they make a third season, rushing through the second season isn't really necessary. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. So now I'm going to talk about season 2 of One Punch Man with spoilers. And I was a little disappointed. If you've watched the first season of One Punch Man, you know how high the expectations of anything following it was. It was immaculately animated, and the story was a complete journey from meeting Saitama to understanding why he feels so depressed, along with the incorporation of other things that matter more than prestige and strength, which is the relationships he's made and the continuous search for a challenge. It was kind of a perfect arc, which means that the following season would have to conclude itself in that well-rounded manner or feel unfinished, and that's exactly what happened. Season 2's end felt like a mid-season cliffhanger rather than the end of a whole other season. We get 2 new storylines that don't resolve, but instead come together for hype for their conclusion in the next one. It just left some people, myself included, with a bit of blue balls. What also brought One Punch Man Season 2 down a notch for me was the lack of development of pre-existing characters. We keep getting more and more new characters to familiarize ourselves with, which is fun, but it doesn't get us much farther in the plot. Not just because he's my boy, but Genos and Sonic kind of got glossed over. We get some very obvious signs that Genos is going dark side with the need for power and lack of concern for innocent life, but we also already assumed that would happen, and the amount he shifted towards a Sith didn't feel impactful. As much as he endangered Miss Blizzard, there were no consequences. To really develop Genos into a decline, he has to willingly make a decision and have repercussions he should feel guilty about, but doesn't. And Sonic, well, it wasn't developing him at all to know that he would do anything, even become a monster to beat Saitama. That's his one thing. And him goofing up the process of making that happen spoke to his likability, but not his standing as an antagonist. Speaking of antagonists, this season introduced Jiro, the hero hunter and proclaimed monster. Jiro's introduction made one thing very clear to me about Season 2. It's that I liked all of the concepts this season brought to the table. They fleshed out the world and introduced a lot of opposing ideological systems, faults in the class system, and general gray area of belief in a world so overrun with catastrophic danger. The world writing was on point, and that's what we needed when going further into One Punch Man. We couldn't keep wandering around in a world we don't understand the underlying structure of. It was necessary to show the corrupt side of the Hero Association and the sympathetic side of sentient monsters in search of recognition. King was a great compliment to Saitama's character, Miss Blizzard brought context to association standards, and the fighting tournament opened our understanding of where powerful people in this universe choose to reside outside of being a hero. Unfortunately, because of the context we're given, the second season doesn't feel immediate. It feels like we're playing a bit of catch-up, and that the fights are fewer and farther between. And unfortunately, when it comes to fighting and development, majority of it centered around Garo, who I personally just didn't like as much as I should have. From Garo's introduction, because he occupied a space in society between 2 very opposing sides, heroes versus monsters, We knew we were getting an anti-hero, and as the season played out, that's exactly what he became. His fighting superiority constantly fell flat after his killer introduction, which I believe was meant to make him an underdog to root for once you understood his driving factor, but it just made it harder for me to invest in him. He's nice to a kid and protects them with no proper reward, so he's shown to have some form of compassion, but his flashbacks didn't do it for me. I believe that's in part to do with Stain from My Hero Academia. Stain and Garo are meant to fill the same role in their respective shows, an anti-hero between the barriers of good and bad in their society who will do anything heinous for the greater good of shifting society towards what they think is a better standard. The reason Garo didn't work in this role was because he was clearly compassionate in specific cases, and that compassion doesn't translate into any form of moral understanding of the world around him. He's an adult with the mentality of an angsty teen that shoots up a school. If you're gonna treat me like a monster, then I'll become one, is his baseline of thought. But there are too many gaps in his mental process. He was trained by Bang and has spent at least 2 decades of his life in this universe we're just being dropped into, but somehow has never run into any interaction that would make him question his extremist convictions. On another layer, I believe this doesn't work because the point of Season 2 was for us, the viewers, to see a different side of the hero society, its corrupt underbelly. And as much as Garo is meant to be a device to support its corruption, he does not actually acknowledge it. He doesn't have the revelations he should be having as a sympathetic anti-hero, which is that some heroes are bad and some aren't. Garo should have developed this understanding of heroes with us instead of occupying a space of disconnect between his positive traits and his indiscriminate hero hunting. Also, I think it's important to note that Stain from My Hero Academia rationalizes his actions for a specific cause. A common trait of anti-heroes is that as long as the ends justify the means, then it's okay by them. But Garo doesn't really have an end in mind. He doesn't like heroes, and he wants to be a monster to get more recognition, but okay. Aside from that, what's the goal? To fight until you die? To get arrested? Garo isn't approaching this from a political position, even though in their world it is a pretty political stance. He's not really trying to change anything so much as be a shit disturber. We see him running around blindly from one situation to another without any planning, and as much as that will likely change in Season 3 with his alignment to the Monster Association, it did not do it for me in Season 2. If Garo is a school shooter, then Stain is a legit terrorist. So that was my review of One Punch Man Season 2. A bit of a letdown, but optimistic for the next season. I didn't mention that the animation also met a decline, but that was to be expected. We can only hope it will increase in quality to Season 1 standards again. Season 2 did everything it needed to come out strong as soon as the next season starts. We're completely through the setup, so shit can just start off hitting the fan. If you have watched One Punch Man, please let me know in the comments below how you felt about the shift in focus and tone from Season 1, and what you expect from Season 3. I will be including more anime reviews in the future, but they'll be farther apart from all the other reviews that I do. If you enjoy my reviews, and if you would like more anime reviews, I could possibly arrange that. Just let me know in the comments. Give this video a like to let me know. Just generally, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.